6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Anjana Dudamgoda and read by Ramesh Peris. The headlines. The President vows to safeguard country's education policies from political influence. The no-confidence motion against Health Minister Kehele Rambukvella was defeated in Parliament with majority of 40 votes. The Minister of State for Indigenous Medicines affirms new Ayurveda Act will allow medicinal cannabis cultivation. The new Anti-Corruption Act to be implemented from the 15th of September. Sri Lanka's reviews ongoing stalled power projects with Japan. The educational exhibition on traditional medicines at the BMICH. In news overseas, Rishi Sunak makes historic G20 visit to India. And in sports, Kumadarana Sena among match officials for the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has reaffirmed that the country's education policies would be safeguarded from political influence and unified under a single legal framework. Speaking at the 150th anniversary celebrations of Eppavala Siddhartha Central College recently, the head of state emphasized the need for a new education system to drive rapid development as Sri Lanka rebuilds following an economic crisis. President Wickremesinghe underscored the importance of preparing Sri Lanka's education system to become a global university in the future, requiring swift and substantial educational reforms. During the event, the President's comments highlighted the urgency of revitalizing Sri Lanka's education system, emphasizing that the reforms should be designed with a forward-looking perspective, encompassing the needs and advancements of the next 2 to 3 decades. The head of state highlighted the importance of integrating emerging technologies and artificial intelligence into the education curriculum, recognizing their pivotal role in preparing students for the future workforce. The vote on the no-confidence motion against Health Minister Kehele Rambukvella was defeated in Parliament today, following a 3-day debate. The no-confidence motion moved by the opposition was rejected in Parliament by a majority of 40 votes. A total of 113 lawmakers had voted against the motion, whilst 73 voted in favour. Accordingly, Rambukvella will function as the Minister of Health further. The debate on the no-confidence motion, which commenced on Wednesday, entered its third consecutive day this morning after the parliamentary session began at 9:30 a.m. The vote on the no-confidence motion against Health Minister Kehele Rambukvella, moved by the opposition, ended in a defeat short while ago. The Minister of State for Indigenous Medicines, Sisira Jayakodi, says the new Ayurveda Act will grant approval for the cultivation of cannabis for medicinal purposes. Joining a press conference held at the Department of Government Information yesterday, the State Minister expressed that the Ayurveda Act previously allowed only the production of Ayurvedic medicines using cannabis, adding that it has now paved way for the cultivation of medicinal hemp. However, he stated that herbal cultivation should be carried out as commercial crops, pointing out that the environment conducive to this and the necessary legal provisions have already been provided. He also said that a few more professions will be registered under the Ayurveda department in the coming weeks. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
Continuing with more local news. The new Anti-Corruption Act is due to be effective from the 15th of September. Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa confirmed yesterday, adding that the relevant gazette will also be published in the near future. A press briefing pertaining to the new legislation was held at the ministry's premises this afternoon, during which Dr. Rajapaksa explained that although the existing laws pertaining to bribery are only applicable to the public sector and politicians, the new Anti-Corruption Act will allow these laws to be enforced against the private sector as well. He further stated that in the event the current commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has given a wrong verdict or withdrawn certain cases for various reasons, the new commission is authorized to re-investigate the matters and take due action by way of a new act. The electricity sector projects in Sri Lanka, which were developed with the financial and technical assistance of the Government of Japan and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, have been reviewed yesterday with the participation of both Japanese and Sri Lankan officials. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara stated that discussions were held regarding the ongoing project's progress, recommencement of projects interrupted due to the financial crisis, future projects for renewable energy integration, technical assistance and technology for energy projects. Meanwhile, assistance extended through the Reform Secretariat for Ceylon Electricity Board reforms and future generations plans, and government policies have also been taken up for discussions during the meeting. The International Conference on Traditional Medicines, Educational Exhibition and Trade Fair started today at the BMICH in Colombo. Indigenous and Ayurvedic physicians as well as herbalists and massage therapists are available here for consultations and discussions. The exhibition will be held till the 10th of September 2023. And that concludes local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says the government, while working on the national evaluation policy, has taken a decision to analyze the expenditures of the 10 highest spending ministries. His remarks came during a launch of the National Evaluation Policy Implementation Framework at the Temple Trees this morning. The reports on the expenditures of relevant ministries would be tabled in Parliament in all 3 languages in the country. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
And in Watchlight this evening, Sri Lanka's railways reported trains on the main line are likely to be delayed after the night mail train plying from Kankasanture to Colombo suffered a technical fault early this morning. Accordingly, the train in question had reportedly suffered a technical fault at around 4:30 a.m. today between Veyangoda and Gampaha. The railway department stated as a result operations on the main line have been limited to one track, potentially delaying several trains. And that came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
Moving on to the World News Bulletin, and first the headlines. Rishi Sunak makes historic G20 visit to India. At least 49 civilians, 15 soldiers killed in twin attacks in Mali. Hong Kong and southern China battle widespread flooding from record rains. Now the world news in detail. Rishi Sunak has arrived in Delhi for the G20 summit, a meeting of leaders from the 19 biggest economies in the world plus the European Union. He becomes the first Prime Minister of Indian heritage to visit the country. It is noted that the historic visit will be a powerful reminder of the living bridge between the two countries. Mr. Sunak is accompanied by his wife Akshata Murthy, who was born and grew up in India and is the daughter of one of India's richest men. The interim government in Mali said that at least 49 civilians and 15 soldiers were killed when Islamist militants attacked a military camp and a vessel in northeastern part of the country yesterday. Many more were wounded, it added in a statement read on national television, noting that the death toll was provisional. Militants have gained ground, spreading across the Sahel and the coastal West African nations, despite costly international efforts to support local troops. Thousands have been killed and over 6 million displaced across the Sahel region south of the Sahara. Hong Kong and southern Chinese cities are battling widespread flooding as the region endures some of its heaviest rainfall on record. Today, the streets and subway stations were underwater in Hong Kong as officials shut schools and workplaces. The Weather Bureau said the downpour, which began on Thursday, is the highest to hit the city in nearly 140 years. Emergency services said more than 100 people have been taken to hospital and several rescues had taken place. Back to the headlines of the world news. Rishi Sunak makes historic G20 visit to India. At least 49 civilians, 15 soldiers killed in twin attacks in Mali. And Hong Kong and southern China battle widespread flooding from record rains. And that concludes World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalu Sittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also open to Sri Lankan kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News is brought to you by
Job opportunities for well-experienced housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait for ages 40 to 58 years. Salary 125,000 rupees. Tag 0377500
In development news, the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitats marks another significant milestone in its mission to promote innovation and knowledge in the realm of tall buildings with the opening of the CTBUH corner at the iconic Colombo Lotus Tower. As the Colombo Lotus Tower becomes home to the CTBUH corner, it solidifies its status not only as a marvel of architectural and engineering achievement, but also as a beacon of knowledge and inspiration for generations to come. And that was Development News.
Job opportunities for women from Deshakti Lanka in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Oman. Housemaids and home cooks in Saudi Arabia, ages 40 to 58 years. Arabic speaking and well-experienced home cooks. Salary 125,000 rupees. Interviews are now on with foreign agents. You can travel overseas free of charge now. Branches Colombo, Kurunegala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 0377500500. Deshakti Lanka Foreign Employment Agency.
Moving on to sports news, the International Cricket Council has announced the 20-match officials for the league round of the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023 in India. 16 umpires will officiate the 13th edition of the tournament, including all 12 of the Emirates elite panel of ICC umpires and 4 members of the ICC emerging umpire panel. Meanwhile, after the first clash of arch rivals India and Pakistan was a washout, and a reserve day has been incorporated for the upcoming Super 4 clash, which will be played at R. Premadasa International Cricket Stadium in Colombo on the 10th of September. Ticket holders are advised to hold on to their match tickets, which will remain valid and will be utilized for the reserve day. In other sports news, it's football. Dakshita Sumatipala, the head of the Sumatipala faction, expressed strong confidence in his team's chances of victory in the upcoming secret ballot among the 64 league members of the Sri Lanka Football Federation. During a press conference held at Nippon Hotel Colombo yesterday, Sumatipala revealed that his team currently enjoys the support of 36 league members, with expectations of further support by the time of the election scheduled on the 29th of September at the Sri Lanka Football Federation House. And that was Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB I Am, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
In business news, redefining sustainable innovations through eco-conscious partnerships, Sri Lanka's largest integrated textile manufacturer, Haley's Fabric PLC, announced a groundbreaking collaboration between Pro Green Laboratory of the University of Muratua to upcycle industrial waste and convert it into sustainable, environmentally friendly construction materials. The partnership, launched under the Fabrico banner, aims to develop eco-friendly, low-cost products for the local market from dye waste, fabric waste, and fly ash generated in the textile industry. The concept builds upon the research conducted by Pro Green Laboratories, led by Professor Rangika U. Halvatura, whose patents on sustainable products include mud concrete blocks and polymerized self-compacting mud blocks. And that was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account. NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says Sri Lanka's official reserve assets stood at $3,598 million in August 2023. This is a marginal drop of 4.4% compared to the $3,765 million recorded in July this year. However, the CBSL said further the current official reserve assets include a swap facility from the People's Bank of China to the tune of $1.4 billion, which is subject to conditionality and usability. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Matara districts. Fairly heavy showers, about 50 millimeters, are likely at some places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. A few showers may occur in the Anuradhapura, Mana and Hambantota districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at few places in the Uva province and the Ampara and Batiklo districts during the evening or at night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers, can be expected at times on the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. And that concludes the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The President vows to safeguard country's education policies from political influence. The no-confidence motion against Health Minister Kehele Rambukvella was defeated in Parliament with majority of 40 votes. The Minister of State for Indigenous Medicines affirms new Ayurveda Act will allow medicinal cannabis cultivation. The new Anti-Corruption Act to be implemented from 15th of September. Sri Lanka reviews ongoing stalled power projects with Japan. The educational exhibition on traditional medicines at the BMICH. In foreign news, Rishi Sunak makes historic G20 visit to India. And in sports, Kumar Dharmasena among match officials for the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2023. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.